Have you ever stopped to think about what it truly means to love yourself? I'm not talking about a superficial love, the kind that depends on others' approval, but a deep, unshakable love that comes from your most authentic essence. Carl Jung teaches us that true transformation begins when we stop searching outside for what we already possess within. The problem is that most people don't know how to access this inner truth because they are trapped in conditioning, traumas, and external expectations. Many of us go through life trying to fill a void we don't understand. We seek relationships to feel complete, acceptance to feel validated, and external achievements to feel worthy. But what happens when we attain all these things and still feel that something is missing? What happens when we realize that none of them truly bring us the peace we seek? Jung would tell us that this emptiness is not a problem, it is a calling. A calling from your unconscious, trying to tell you something you haven't yet had the courage to listen to. We've been taught that self-love comes from taking care of ourselves, respecting ourselves, and valuing ourselves. But rarely are we told that it also requires facing the darkest parts within us. True self-love is not just accepting yourself when you're happy, motivated, and successful. It's also about embracing your pain, your flaws, your fears, and your shadows. According to Jung, the shadow is that part of ourselves that we avoid, reject, and refuse to admit exists. But as long as you keep ignoring this part of yourself, it won't disappear. On the contrary, it will manifest in your relationships, your choices, and the situations that hurt you the most. How many times have you felt drawn to people who, deep down, didn't truly value you? How many times have you found yourself repeating the same painful patterns, even knowing that's not what you wanted for your life? This doesn't happen by chance. The unconscious acts silently, guiding your decisions until you choose to look inward and face what needs to be healed. True self-love does not come from pride, an inflated ego, or the need to prove something to others. It is born from a deep connection with your essence. It arises when you allow yourself to be who you truly are, without fear of judgment and without forcing yourself to fit into standards that make no sense to you. Jung teaches us that individuation, the process of becoming truly yourself, is the most important journey in life, but also the most challenging one. This journey requires courage because it means letting go of comfortable illusions. It means releasing relationships that no longer make sense, shedding identities that were imposed on you, and, above all, accepting that your happiness does not depend on anything external. Think about this for a moment. What are you still holding on to that you should have already let go of? What relationships, beliefs, or patterns are still keeping you trapped? Many times, we fear the emptiness that may arise when we let something go. But Jung reminds us that this emptiness is not something to be feared. On the contrary, it is a sacred space where the new can flourish. And the truth is, when you truly love yourself, your energy changes. Your perspective on life transforms. You stop accepting less than you deserve. You stop settling for what hurts you. You stop needing validation from others to feel good. The right people start to appear. Opportunities that once seemed impossible begin to unfold. As Jung said, what we project onto the external world is nothing more than a reflection of our inner world. So, when you align with your essence, the universe responds. But to do this, you must be willing to take a deep dive within yourself, to face your shadows, accept your vulnerabilities, and stop running from yourself. This is true transformation. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't come from magical formulas. It comes from a genuine commitment to yourself. The question is, are you ready for this encounter with your true essence? And maybe you've never thought about this, but every time we run from ourselves, we create a reality where pain and dissatisfaction keep repeating. Jung teaches us that everything we reject within ourselves ends up manifesting in the external world, and that is no coincidence. The unconscious has a subtle yet powerful way of showing us what needs to be acknowledged. That's why we meet people who challenge us, who make us uncomfortable, who awaken feelings we don't want to admit. The problem is not them. The problem is that we haven't yet understood what these experiences are trying to teach us. If you've ever felt trapped in relationship patterns that always seem to end the same way, or if you've noticed that certain emotions keep resurfacing even when circumstances change, it means there is something within you that is asking to be seen. Ignoring it only makes these lessons repeat in increasingly intense ways. The unconscious does not give up on you. It will continue placing in your path what you need to integrate. You can run for a while, distract yourself with work, with new people, with temporary pleasures, but sooner or later, the truth always returns. And that's why self-love is much more than just taking care of yourself or putting yourself first. It is a commitment to truth, a commitment to look at yourself with honesty and recognize where you are sabotaging yourself. Jung said that the more we avoid our shadows, the more we become their prisoners. That's why, so often, when we try to ignore something painful, that pain only grows. Because it is not by running from it that we free ourselves, but by facing it head-on. And that can be frightening, because it means admitting that some of the choices we made were not out of love, but out of fear. It means recognizing that, at many times, we accepted less than we deserved because we didn't believe we could have something better. It means understanding that many of our wounds were not caused by others, but by ourselves, by allowing situations that hurt us. This realization can be painful, but it is also liberating. Because when you realize that you were the one who placed yourself in certain situations, you also realize that you have the power to remove yourself from them. You no longer need to hold on to stories that no longer make sense. You no longer need to repeat cycles that should have already ended. You have the power to change, to choose differently, to create a reality where you put yourself first, not out of selfishness, but out of awareness. When you truly love yourself, you understand that your energy is precious and cannot be wasted on what drains you. You learn to say no without guilt, to walk away from what doesn't serve you without fear. You realize that self-love isn't about waiting for others to treat you well, but about treating yourself well first. And this change happens from the inside out. You don't need to announce to the world that you love yourself. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. When this transformation happens, it is felt. Your posture changes. Your presence becomes stronger. Your energy speaks for you. And the people who once treated you carelessly, who once took advantage of your kindness, start to notice the shift. Some will distance themselves because they can no longer manipulate you. Others will try to pull you back into who you used to be. But some, the ones who truly resonate with your new frequency, will come closer. And that's how your reality changes. Jung said that what we deny within ourselves doesn't disappear, it only gains power over us. And the opposite is also true. What we accept and integrate becomes our greatest strength. So what do you choose? To keep running from your truth or to finally face yourself? And when you finally decide to face yourself, something inside you begins to change. At first, it may be uncomfortable. You may feel resistance, fear, even a sense of melancholy as you realize everything you accepted for so long without questioning. But this phase is necessary. It's the moment when you start to see with clarity what you once preferred to ignore. Jung teaches us that this is the key to true transformation. Awareness. Because what you don't see controls you, but what you bring into the light loses its power over you. Have you ever noticed how certain situations seem to repeat in your life, as if they were cycles that never end? Relationships that start well but always end the same way. People who enter your life and seem to trigger the same wounds, the same emotions? This is no coincidence. It's your unconscious showing you where you still need to grow. You can blame others. You can say you always have bad luck. You can believe the problem is the world around you. But none of that will set you free. The only thing that can truly set you free is responsibility. Not in the sense of guilt, but in the sense of power. Because when you understand that everything happening outside is a reflection of what's happening inside, you realize that you have the power to change. But this change doesn't come from empty promises or superficial attempts. It comes from deep inner work, from a true commitment to yourself. Because when you truly love yourself, you no longer allow just anything into your life. You don't settle for emotional crumbs. You don't accept less than you deserve. And this shift doesn't happen because you become cold or indifferent, but because you become aware of your worth. And that's when something magical happens. When you stop accepting what doesn't serve you, when you let go of everything that no longer resonates with your truth, the universe starts bringing you better things. People who truly see you begin to enter your life. Opportunities that once seemed impossible start to appear. Because when you change on the inside, everything around you changes too. But for this to happen, you must be willing to transform, to abandon old patterns, to let go of stories that no longer make sense. And that doesn't mean it will be easy. Some goodbyes will hurt. Some changes will bring fear. But Jung teaches us that every true transformation is born from chaos, and that before we find real peace, we must go through the storm of self-discovery. And the truth is, not everyone is ready for this. Many people prefer to keep living on autopilot, accepting less than they deserve, settling for a life that doesn't reflect who they truly are. But you don't have to be one of them. You can choose differently. You can choose to free yourself. You can choose to truly love yourself. And when you make that choice, your life transforms in ways you never imagined. And maybe now you're asking yourself, how do I start this transformation? How can I truly love myself if I've spent so much time believing I needed others' approval, that I needed to fit in, that I needed to be accepted to feel whole? The answer is within you. But to find it, you must be willing to face everything you've ignored for so long. Buried desires, aspects of your personality that were rejected, denied, or repressed. Everything you once felt but weren't allowed to express. Everything you wanted to be but were too afraid to show the world. It all still lives in your unconscious. And true self-love begins when you decide to reclaim these lost parts of yourself. How many times have you found yourself trying to please others, even when it meant going against your own will? How many times have you shaped yourself to be accepted, to avoid conflict, to ensure you wouldn't be rejected? And how many times did that leave you feeling empty, lost, disconnected from who you truly are? This is the price of living for others. You may be accepted, admired, even loved, but you will never feel complete. Because the truth is, no one can fill the space that only you can occupy within yourself. You may seek love in another person, look for recognition in your work, try to find meaning in material achievements, but none of it will be enough until you allow yourself to be who you truly are. And being who you truly are doesn't just mean showing your strengths, your qualities, your admirable and beautiful side. It also means accepting your weaknesses, your imperfections, your vulnerability. It means looking at your pain and learning from it instead of hiding it. It means recognizing that you don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love. The problem is, we grew up believing that we must earn love, that we need to do something to be valuable. And Jung shows us that this is a great illusion. Your worth is not in what you do, in what you have, in how much you please others. Your worth is in your existence, in the simple fact that you are who you are. And the moment you truly understand this, you set yourself free. Because when you truly love yourself, you stop begging for love. You stop accepting so little. You stop settling for what hurts you. You realize that your presence is a gift and that any person, situation, or relationship that does not recognize this does not deserve a place in your life. But this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience. It requires courage. It requires that you be willing to let go of what is not real in order to finally find yourself. It requires that you stop looking outside for what can only be found within. And that is the greatest challenge of all, to trust that within you lies everything you need to be whole. And when you finally realize that everything you need is already within you, the world around you begins to change. Not because external circumstances instantly transform, but because your perception of them changes. What once seemed essential no longer matters as much. What once caused pain and attachment is now seen as a lesson. This is the true awakening of self-love. The moment you understand that your peace does not depend on anything or anyone but yourself. But to reach this state, you must go through the discomfort of transformation. Jung teaches us that real growth requires facing our shadow, that part of us that we deny, reject, or try to hide. And self-love is not just about accepting what is beautiful in you, but also embracing what is imperfect. Because denying your shadow does not make it disappear. It only makes it manifest in unconscious ways, sabotaging your relationships, your choices, and your happiness. This is why so many people remain trapped in repetitive patterns, in relationships that hurt, in situations that drain their energy. Not because they are unlucky, not because the world is unfair, but because they are caught in a cycle of self-sabotage that they cannot see. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And this is a powerful truth. The life you are living today is not just a series of coincidences. It is a reflection of what you carry within. If you still accept less than you deserve, if you struggle to say no, if you feel like you have to prove yourself to others, it doesn't mean you cannot change. It simply means that there is something inside you that still needs healing. And this healing does not come from the outside. Not from a new relationship, not from a new job, not from a fresh start. It comes from within. From the decision to look at yourself with honesty, with compassion, with courage. And when this shift happens, something incredible occurs. You stop feeling the need to fit in. You stop worrying so much about others' opinions. And you stop depending on external validation to feel good about yourself. And this freedom allows you to build a life that truly makes sense to you. The right people start appearing, not because you desperately searched for them, but because you became someone who attracts that kind of energy. Opportunities begin to arise, not because the world changed, but because you changed how you position yourself in the world. This is the real transformation, not something that happens outside of you, but something that is born within you and reflects in everything around you. And from this moment on, you realize you no longer need to chase love, because when you truly love yourself, the right love finds you. You no longer need to prove your worth, because when you recognize your own worth, the world responds to it. You no longer need to hold on to what doesn't serve you, because when you trust your path, everything that doesn't resonate with your essence simply fades away. But to live this truth, you must choose it. Choose to let go of the illusions that keep you trapped. Choose to release everything that no longer makes sense. Choose to trust that the universe is always guiding you to where you truly need to be. Choose to love yourself, respect yourself, and allow yourself to be exactly who you are. And this is the most powerful choice you can make. And when you make this choice, you realize that you never needed anything outside of yourself to feel complete. Everything you have ever searched for in the external world, love, acceptance, recognition, was already within you, waiting to be seen. But to see it, you had to go through every experience, every pain, every challenge that brought you here. Nothing was by chance. Everything had a purpose to lead you back to yourself. Jung teaches us that the journey of individuation, the process of becoming who we truly are, is not a straight or easy path. But it is the only path that is truly worth it. Because living a life that does not reflect your essence, that does not honor your truth, that makes you feel lost and empty, is not living. It is merely existing, and you are not here just to exist. You are here to experience, to grow, to expand, to fully live. And this transformation begins now. Not when you have more time, not when the circumstances are ideal, not when others finally understand you, but now, because the perfect moment never comes. What comes is the decision, and that decision is yours. You can keep waiting for something to change out there, or you can decide to change in here. And when you change, everything changes. So, I invite you to take this first step, to look within with honesty, to embrace your shadow, to recognize your worth, and to stop accepting less than you deserve. I invite you to trust that the love you seek is already within you, to live with more awareness, more authenticity, more presence, to create a life that truly makes sense to you. And if this message resonated with you, if it made you reflect in any way, share it with someone who also needs to hear this. Because the more people awaken to this truth, the more the world transforms. Leave a comment below. Tell me what touched your heart the most. What insight had the greatest impact on you? I want to hear your thoughts. I want to know how this spoke to you. And of course, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and turn on notifications so you'll always receive content to support you on this journey of self-discovery and transformation. Remember, life always responds to how you position yourself. Choose to love yourself. Choose to trust. Choose to live your truth. And the rest, the universe will take care of aligning it all. Thank you for being here.